ओम नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानंद सूरये सच्चित सुख स्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे. Most respected Swamijis of the Ramakrishna order, dear brother monks, respected Matajis, delegates of the All India Abha Prachar Parishad centers, pranams and namaskars to all of you. To begin with, the Tamil Nadu Ramakrishna Vivekananda Bhava Prachar Parishad was inaugurated on 7th November 2009 by Most Revered Swami Shivamayanandaji Maharaj, convener of All India Bhava Prachar Parishad at Ramakrishna Math, Chennai, under the presidentship of Most Revered Swami Gautamanandaji Maharaj. Within a short span of 4.5 years, this parishad has now grown with 47 member centers, and another 322 observer centers are waiting to be absorbed as members, provided they fulfill the conditions laid down by the headquarters. Swami Vivekananda, in one of his letters, expressed his desire to have one center of the Ramakrishna movement in each district of India. This is not possible to be achieved by the Ramakrishna Math and Mission alone, given the manpower constraints. However, this dream of Swamiji has already been achieved for the most part through the services of the Bhava Prachar Parishad centers, which have more than one center in every district in most of the states of the country. The theme of today's discussion from the morning has been Swami Vivekananda in the light of 150 years. Eminent speakers have told you how Swami Vivekananda has contributed in the field of service, in the field of education, in the field of national rejuvenation, in the field of uplifting of the masses, spirituality, etc. Here, I would like to take up another dimension of Swamiji and make a few remarks in the short time given to me about how Swami Vivekananda has enriched the human thought in various fields. Swami Vivekananda was relevant during his lifetime, but is much more relevant in today's context, after 150 years of his advent. To cite one example, the contemporaries of Swamiji, like Keshav Chandra Sen, Rajaram Mohan Rai, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Dayananda Saraswati, etc., spoke about widow remarriage, abolition of child marriage, sati, abolition of caste system, etc. Swamiji did not give much importance to any of these social reforms, but stressed on the betterment of women, the masses, and the youth. Today, the problems of widow remarriage, child marriage, sati, etc., have almost become irrelevant, whereas Swamiji's exhortation to raise the women, to raise the masses and awaken the youth has become the mantra for national progress, and a sizable Indian budget and human resource are being allocated every year for this purpose. If India is one of the few nations in which the Constitution itself enjoins upon each citizen to cultivate and promote a scientific spirit. It is not only because of Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of India, who was a great votary of modern science. Much before him, there were many others, including spiritual leaders and men of religion, such as Swami Vivekananda, who welcomed the spread of modern science in India, says one of the distinguished scholars of India. We all know that Swami Vivekananda met the well-known millionaire philanthropist Jamshedji Tata in Japan. In July 1893, they were fellow passengers from Yokohama to Vancouver on board the steamer Empress of India. While in Japan, Swamiji was impressed by the industrial development of that country and hoped for a similar development in India. Later, in 1898, Jamshedji Tata wrote to Swami Vivekananda, reminding him of their meeting on the ship and their conversations about channeling the growing ascetic spirit of India into useful channels. This was the origin of starting a research center for fundamental science. As a result of this, a center called Tata Institute or the Indian Institute of Science was established in Bangalore in the year 1909. In the field of biological science, one of the most important thoughts during Swamiji's time and even today is the Darwin's theory of survival of the fittest. This theory was unquestioningly accepted by the whole world, but Swamiji dared to differ from Darwin's view. He pointed out that while in the case of animal kingdom, the theory holds good, whereas it is just the opposite in the case of human kingdom. In the animal kingdom, the law is one of competition, that is, might is right. In the case of human kingdom, it is the law of sacrifice. Today, the great scientists of the world agree with the views of Swami Vivekananda and speak of the coexistence in a cooperative state known as symbiosis, that is, sharing and caring rather than competing for resources and coexisting with one another as the law of life. That is a great thought which Swamiji gave much before the scientist could give. Swamiji also thought about the relation between the two fundamental science subjects, chemistry, which deals with matter, and physics, which deals with energy. He wanted the great scientist Nikola Tesla to express the relationship between them in the form of a mathematical equation. Tesla agreed but could not do it. 8 years later, Albert Einstein published his famous equation E equals mc square, which was the very equation Swami Vivekananda looked forward to get from Tesla. It is surmised now that the idea of discovering the relation between energy and matter got into Einstein's head through Einstein's wife, who was a friend of Tesla. Tesla had worked out elaborate notes on this point in his diary, and Einstein must have had access to this data through his wife. Einstein himself had acknowledged the contribution of Swami Vivekananda by stating that there is one Kananda who predicted that energy and matter are interchangeable. The year 1905, in which Einstein discovered this theory, is considered the miracle year, and the theory represents a major paradigm shift in the thought process of human history. Einstein kept contact with the Ramakrishna Mission, and as late as 1935, he replied to 2 letters of Swami Nikhilanandaji of New York Center, addressing the Swami as most revered sir, and ending his letter with the words, with kindest regards. Again, it was Swami Vivekananda who transformed John Rockefeller, the richest and the greediest man of his day, to give away in charities. Today, the world is thankful to Rockefeller Foundation, which has enabled the discovery of penicillin, the cure of spinal meningitis, a disease that used to kill a large percentage of children, relief from malaria, influenza, diphtheria, and many other deadly diseases. It was again Swami Vivekananda who gave his latest thoughts on management concepts like servant leadership, for which I have no time to go into it, and the utmost relevance of Swamiji has been expressed by the Director General of UNESCO, which revered Swami, most revered Swami Prabhanandaji quoted in the morning. And the Subramanya Bharatiyar, who is the greatest Tamil literature of this century, of the previous century, in the contemporary last 200-300 years, he has been the greatest poet, the national poet. He has given 3,000 pages of his complete works, and all his ideas are based on Swami Vivekananda's ideas. He considers himself to be a disciple of Nivedita and a grand disciple of Swami Vivekananda. You will find that our revered Swami Kamalatmanandaji is doing an exhaustive research work on the comparative study of Bharatiyar's complete works and Swami Vivekananda's complete works. I thank you all for listening to me about Swami Vivekananda's contribution to world thought. Namaskar.